Hello everyone, welcome to another Mystery Monday. Yeah, my voice is not that good, but anywho, today I would take you through my January reading stats and my top 3 favorite books. Well, anyone that knows me knows I'm a stat person and I'm so excited. My journal is basically 3 stickers away from being complete, which is really exciting, and I can't wait to figure out how to do this flip through. But since I have everything, I catalog basically everything that matters to me as a reader, things that I want to know and I want to remember and things like that. Being a stat girl and a math girl, I figure I would share with you what happened with my reading in January. If that's something that interests you, let me know down below and I'll keep doing that, or even just do it every, quarter. Or if it's something that you don't care at all about, just let me know and I will stop including this in my videos. But anyway, so my January, in statistics, I read 31 books. Out of those books, it added up to a total of 10,407 pages. I read 4 physical books, 10 ebooks, and 17 audiobooks, which is like new for me. But this month, literally, like I mentioned on my last video, I was listening to an audiobook when I was doing anything, and whenever I was sitting down or doing anything, I was reading a book. And a lot of the ebooks I read because of Scribd and NetGalley, which I'm really thankful for. And most of the audiobooks I read through my library because some of the ones I was interested in, they had it as an audiobook. I'm still avoiding going out in public, so yada yada, you know the drill. But anyway, and you all know too that I can be quite generous with my rating. And a high rating doesn't necessarily mean is a book that I recommend per se, but it's just that based on my criteria, it was a well-written book. So because of that, I guess I don't really emotionally rate, even though every rating is emotional about whatever. But I tend to be a high rater. And thankfully, I also tend to only read books I enjoy. So this month, I'm not surprised that I had one book that I rated between 3 and 3.5 stars. And yeah, because when I'm actually cataloging, I have like one star or 1 mustache. So I have 1 rating, 2, then I have 3 to 3.5, 3.5 to 4.5, and 4.5 to 5. So only 1 between 3 and 3.5. 13 of the books I read, I rated between 3.5 and 4.5 stars. And 17 were 4.5, and a few were actually 5 stars too. And that really surprised me. So I don't know, maybe I'm falling in love with books more and I'm being more relaxed, but that has been my January stats for ratings. I read 7 books I own. 12 were borrowed from the library. 1 was borrowed from a friend. 4 I read on Scribd. 1 on Kindle Unlimited, and 6 were NetGalley books. And out of the 6, 5 were fantastic. I can't wait for their release date so I can talk to you guys about it and recommend them. But I'm not disappointed at all. I was disappointed in, being a small person on the ones that were declined, but the ones that approved to me, I really enjoyed. And talking about Scribd is a service that is almost like a Netflix for ebooks, audiobooks, some podcasts, and some articles. I do have a link down below that gives you 2 months off if you want to try it for free. And if you do subscribe using my link, I will get a month of Scribd for free as well. So it's like, use it, don't use it. But if you like audiobooks and ebooks, they do have quite a large catalog. And I read some really recent books on it. Out of the books I read, 6, which not surprisingly, are the 6 Nat Galley books I read in January were from 2021. 5 were 2020 books. 17 were published between 2010 and 19. 1 was in the 2000s. And then I had 2 books that were published before 1939. I was really surprised that out of my 31 books, the majority were male authors, which is a first for me. I read 16 books by male authors and 15 by female authors. All 31 books were new to me. I haven't had any reread in January, and I think I might not have a reread in a long time unless it's Agatha Christie, because honestly, there are so many more books I still want to read. Ugh. And this also surprised me. I had 5 repeat authors. So 5 of the books I read were from authors I had read before, but 26 were new, and I enjoyed them all. I was like, whoa, talk about the world being my oyster. And then 8 authors were British, 15 American, 3 Canadian, 1 Irish, and I read a book by a Moroccan author. I read 28 novels, 2 novellas, 1 short story, and all of the books I read were in English. And this is my utter surprise of the month. I read 16 thrillers, only 4 mystery, 7 horrors, 1 classic, and 3 YAs. Talk about expansion. I'm getting there, people. I'm expanding my taste. And I will let you know what my favorite 3 books were and my honorable mentions. So for honorable mentions, I have, okay, this is a mouthful. I'll see if I can remember. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. That book, I rated 5 mustaches, and it was fantastic. Honestly, as far as the book itself goes, I cannot fault it. And it didn't make into my top 3 because 3 of the other books I read were rated lower, mind you. But I was more pleasantly surprised by them, and they're books that I will reread before I reread The Guide to Slaying Vampires, even though I really adored it. This is the part that I get quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's almost like an emotional rating, because I will let you know, like I can't put a number on my favorite books. They just are with no reason. Some months I might even have like a favorite book that when I'm analyzing it, it will be like 1 star or whatever. I can't explain, just take my word for it. But basically, The Guide to Slaying Vampires is set in the 1990s, and one of the things that I loved the most about it was the fact that you could feel, like, I'm a 90s child, and I could feel the 90s, and it was in the way that people talk to each other, it was in the slang, it was in the mentions of what they were eating or how their house looked like. It wasn't necessarily too in your face, it was just so seamless. It was like fantastic. Talk about nostalgia. And I'm pretty sure it was in the book that there was even like a day that they were like watching TV and someone mentioned 90210. Hello. It's also at its core an analogy to pedophilia, and how you don't know who your neighbors are, and sometimes you don't even know who your friends are and who's inside, and how anyone can be like a predator, and that they do such a good job in hiding that their nature or their weakness, that when someone actually sees the truth, it's hard for people to believe them. And at one point, so I think the vampire is I read it as the vampire being an analogy to pedophiles. And at one point, this woman tries to tell people that their neighbor is a vampire, and nobody believes it. But when she says he's a drug dealer, that's easier to accept. And it's the kind of thing, right? Like nobody wants to believe that they know, and they invite into their house someone who's capable of hurting their children. But if he's a drug dealer, I mean, it's easier to accept. But basically, there's this woman. She suspects that her neighbor's nephew is a vampire and is attacking children from the neighborhood and is grooming them. And she knows that he killed someone who disappeared, and nobody believes her. She was new in town, and the women in the book club, led by the main hun in there, they don't really want to believe her. They think she's crazy, and then she's ostracized a little bit, but she doesn't let go, and she finds some allies and is intent to pursue the line of interrogation and expose the vampire to protect the children of the neighborhood. And but it was like quite a ride. It was gory at points. I loved Hendrik's mythology for the vampire. It's completely new and fresh, and I could picture how awful and disgusting he is. This needs to be turned into a movie because I want to see some crazy special effects, and I think it would be like fantastic. But it was, despite its gore, it was so fun and so funny. Like, that's, I think, one of the things that I'm really enjoying about Grady Hendrix is the way that he tells it. He's witty, but he's wicked, and is like the best of two worlds, like horror and comedy. Like, I don't think you can go wrong with that. And I didn't want to read this book because I thought it was being overhyped, and I heard some people that either love it or hate it. I fall into the loved it category. So that's my 5 Mustache honorable mention. And the other one that I want to mention this month as well is One by Sarah Crossan. It is a free verse book about conjoined twins. It's a beautiful, touching read, and it's set in 1 year of their lives and is narrated by one of the twins. And it makes you laugh and cry and feel with them, and you realize how relatable they are. Sarah did such a good job making you relate to these characters. And even though I have never been a conjoined twin and I don't know the hardships they go through, the way they go through, and the way that they are, and the way that Grace narrates her daily lives and her angst and her happiness and her feelings, it's like Grace is all of us. Whoever was a teen at some point will relate to them. And I don't want to spoil, but there's a scene at the end that happened exactly. I went through something exactly the same way that she did. And when I was reading, like, I was crying. If you need to purge your tears because you've been bottling them up, this is the book for you, because it makes you cry, ugly cry, but feel really good inside. I mean, this is another 5-star for me this month. And it almost made into my top 3, but it didn't. And thank you so much, Siobhan, for having sent that book to me. It was like the best surprise ever. And she also a booktuber. She has a channel I'm going to link down below. Please go check her out. The next book, Heart of a Runaway Girl. It is by Trevor Wilson, a self-published Canadian author. And I already did a review on it. I'm linking it up here. So that's my first top 3 book. For the next one, I was trying to show it earlier, but I don't think it's showing because it's getting late and the light might reflect. You can't see much because of the reflection. But my second favorite book of the month, it really surprised me. It was The Butterfly Garden by Dot Hutchinson. This kind of serial killer, action-packed plot I prefer to watch. I prefer them to come to me in a visual form. And that's why I started reading this book, because I knew I was going to like it, but I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much, to the point that now I wish I had bought the physical book and I really want to read the other ones in the series. It's called the Collector series. I don't know why I liked it so much. I think it's because... Why did I like it so much? I think it's because Dot Hutchinson did a wonderful job sharing with us the contrast between the worst possible human being and the worst possible actions of a human being versus the best side of us. And obviously she did it through different characters. And her serial killer, the gardener, he was very reminiscent of Hannibal, because the things he did were atrocious, gut-wrenching. It makes you throw up. But when he wasn't in that mode, he really cared about his butterflies. He really treated them with respect. And that for me was even more disgusting, because how dare you be nice and ignore what you're doing to them? So basically what happens, we have this... He is a very rich man that lives a double life, and he has this compound that he calls his garden. And he kidnaps girls of about 16 years of age, like someone in the second half of their teen years. And he takes them to the garden, and he turns them into butterflies by giving them wings tattoo, and tattooing a new name inside their lips. So he completely erases their previous identity, creates a new one, and that's their butterfly. And each one has a different pattern. And once they turn 21, or they become unusable in a way, let's say if they get sick or pregnant or try to escape, but they still remain beautiful, he kills them and stores them in a block of like resin, like, you know how you do with insects. And he has all of them displayed in this room. Yeah. And then he also, let's just say this book has a trigger warning for child abuse, neglect, and pedophilia, and rape, and murder of children, and all the disgusting things. So he does that. And then his son, his oldest son, is even worse than he is. He's very sadistic. And then he's also sometimes part of the butterfly compound. Yeah, he's really disgusting what he does to these girls, and that part is really dark. However, we find out what happened inside the garden, because there has been an explosion. Girls are in the hospital, and then there's this one former butterfly, Maya, who's being interviewed by the FBI. We don't know if she's a unreliable narrator, if she was really a victim, or she's lying to save her skin because they were caught. But basically, she's the one telling the story. And through her, we learn about resilience and how much hope you just being there for someone else in a shitty situation brings. And the light was brought through her narration, and the love and friendship and the bond these girls inside created, and the sadness of the acceptance of their fate, because once they're there, they know they can't even escape, because he's gonna kill them, right, if they try. So that part was really sad. But anyway, I don't want to ruin the book. I really recommend this. It's a fast read. It's very nice and disturbing at the same time. I can't wait to see what characters from this book are going to show up in the next one, because I don't think they are standalones. It is part of a series. But as far as the rating for enjoyability, fairness, plot, and characters, I rated 10. I gave this book a 9 for ambience, only because I wish I could have seen more of the contrast between the light and the darkness. And for execution, I gave an 8 because I loved this book. I would still read it again. I'll watch the movie or the series or anything that is based on it. However, there was one of the plot twists I don't think it added to the story much. So this all adds up to a total of 4.75 mustaches. And my final, and these were in no particular order, but my final favorite book of the month is Home Before Dark. Riley Sager for me has become like Ruth Ware, an autobi. I love the way he writes. I love his books. I think they're fresh. They are amazing thrillers, and they really toy and flirt with horror, but not really. And I do like the way his mind works. So I was really excited for this book. I was going to read it, but I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. It was the first book that was like, holy, like, can I just close it and reread it? Because it was so fun. It basically tells the story of Maggie. It basically tells the story of Maggie Holt. She is an adult now, but when she was 5, her family moved to this house on top of a hill. Beautiful Victorian house. And she lived there for about 20 days. Because as soon as they moved there, her dad started suspecting that, things were happening and he didn't know what it was. And then they really sounded like something really messed up and supernatural was happening in the house, to the point that they got so scared. They pulled an Amityville and they just ran. In the middle of the night, leaving everything, all the belongings, toys, everything behind, and never returned to the house. At least that's what Maggie thought. He wrote a book about this, and this book became a bestseller. They were super rich because of it and changed their lives, but whatever happened in the house also affected their family. 20-something years later, Maggie's dad dies and leaves everything he has for her. When she goes to talk to the lawyer, she discovers that one of the things he left for her was actually Banbury Hall. So he never saw the house. And once Maggie gets there, she finds out that he actually visited the house on the anniversary of the day they escaped every year. So, and on his deathbed, he actually tells her this place is not for her, don't go in there. So, of course, Maggie goes there. And she gets into the house. She never believed the book. She thought her dad was like a liar that destroyed those lives, because her life changed. She became like the girl of the haunted house, right? It was very notorious. So she always resented her dad for that, and she never believed that things happening because she had no memories. So she goes in there trying to prove him wrong, renovate a house, sell it, and move on. But as she gets in there, she finds herself with the mysteries. And she starts to wonder how much of the book was actually true, of if she's crazy. But let's just say things start happening. And this book is amazing. It's a book within a book. We get to read the whole book that her dad wrote, which I believe is called House of Horrors. So the book her dad wrote was called House of Horrors, and we get every chapter from the book within this book, but it's alternated. So we get like a chapter from the House of Horrors, and then a chapter from Maggie on the present day, and we can contrast them, and things are happening almost in the same order or similar. And the House of Horror book is so scary. And but this is definitely a thriller. And I think it was just done so well, very enjoyable, very believable. I mean, it wasn't a fantastical book, because every fiction is like not believable. I hope you know what I mean. But anyway, I really loved it. And I know you can see it right now, but the book actually glows in the dark. But anyway, so for the execution, the fairness, the ambiance, and the enjoyability, I rated this book a 10. For characters, I rated a 9 because there was like a character that I think it was not developed at all. And I really did not like that person. And I don't know. They could have contributed so much more to the plot. And at the end, it just ended up being, yeah, we get it. And for the plot, I also rated 9 because, you know, it is not the most original, but it was executed like superbly. And the last thing I have to say about that book is that I was basically reading the book, but there has been times when I was doing other things that I didn't want to put it down. I was listening to the audiobook. This, I really suggest you read first, and the audiobook be your second encounter with the book, only because reading the book and imagining the house and doing things, I was much more scared reading the book than I was listening to it. Because when you create things in your mind, it festers and it haunts more, at least for me. But they were both fantastic. I really enjoyed the audiobook and the book, obviously, because it's one of my top 3 with 475 mustaches. Anyway, this is what I had for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I can't wait to see you Wednesday, Friday, next Monday, whenever you're here. You're always going to be welcome. And until next time, be the hummingbird.
Bye.
He really wanted to do that.